this video we'll look at how to use a finger tapping technique to make your playing sound melodic. Let's just have a brief look at the finger tapping technique and just some of the things you should be looking out for. Now, something that will help you get your finger tapping nice and audible is a good beefy rock or metal tone. Okay, of course you can do it on a clean tone, but it's really going to pop out and sound really cool if you use a beefy tone. So try and get yourself that sorted. As regards to what pickups you use, whatever you like the sound of. If we've got this neck pickup, it'll sound nice and smooth. And it'll sound a bit more gutsy with the bridge pickup. So just whatever you want to do sound wise for that. Now, we're going to look at a basic A minor pentatonic finger tapping like to start off, but things will get not so basic later. Now then, a big thing about being able to use finger tapping is how to put it into your playing without you having to go, wait, stop, I have to go and do this finger tapping thing, then I have to go back to picking. It's the transition between just doing your normal playing with the pick and going into tapping and then going back. I can remember it well, that's a tricky thing to do at first because there's this big jump you'll have to do from over here and actually using a finger on this hand. So let's look at just some of my tips for it. So hold down fret 5 of your high E string. Now you're just going to pick this note and then hammer on to the 8 on that string. I'm going to say use your little finger, but you could use your third finger. So just do this. Now that's the height of what we're doing with the pick, because we're going to go into tapping after that. So that's the lick we're going to work on first, and it's going to help you with all the things I'll show you. So you pick 5, hammer on to 8, then I'm going to suggest you use the middle finger, you know, the bad one, to tap on to the fretboard. You know, loads of people, famous people, way more famous than me, use their first finger. If you do it that way, that's great, okay? You just do it whatever way you think works for you. If I was teaching someone, I would tell them to use the middle finger because it allows you to keep the pick with your thumb and first finger there, ready to go again, without you having to do a lot of adjusting. But you know, whatever works for you. So, that is just what we want to get going. Pick 5, hammer to 8, bring the middle finger over, or whatever finger, tap on 10 on that string. So slam the finger down and kind of flick off like that. So it's kind of a pull off kind of thing there. And that should get the note popping out. Now what I recommend as well, when you're using tones like this, you really want to mute the other strings because this can get really messy. So what I recommend is those 3 thick strings especially, but also the G string here. As you're in position, get yourself somewhere where you can access the fret you want to tap onto and lean on the strings that aren't getting used. It's difficult for me to block out the B string with my hands, but I can definitely get those 4 strings covered. Get that stuff blocked out. You don't want this messy noise ruining your finger tapping. And what you can do to mute the B string is just let these fingers catch the B string as you fret the relevant notes, and that should clear up all the strings below the one you're playing. So then just do that a million times. Repeat that over and over and over again. So tap, then that 10 is going to sound out, then pull off from 8 to 5. and one last hammer on the 8, and then you just repeat that cycle. Okay, that's it. So you can practice this in a few ways. As I've got on the tab, you can pick the first note, hammer the 8, and then go into tapping constantly after that, so that you're getting some practice from going from picking to tapping, or just forget about the picking if you want first and just focus on the tapping bit. Right, let's get to the fun stuff then. So I'm just going to call this section single string tapping licks. Now, it would help if you know a little bit of music theory here. Everything I'm going to show you is in something called the key of A minor. So ideally, if you know how to play an A minor scale along one string, that would be great, okay? And it's not too hard to find out how to do that. There'll be loads of videos on here on how to do that. But just so I show you here, I'll go through it. So we've got A on fret 5, B on fret 7, then C on 8, D on 10, E on 12, F on 13, G, that's 15, and you would arrive back to another A note at fret 17. That's just a good old A minor scale played across one string. What you'll notice in the examples I'll show you is I'm doing the same kind of lick we did at the start, but I'm going to tap on to a note within the scale. So sometimes I can remember myself when I was learning this, I was thinking, what notes do I tap here? Of course, you can just kind of experiment with the sound. For now, we're going to stick to doing things in one key. And all we're going to do here is tap on to other notes in the key. As this guy's doing the work down here, just staying put, this guy will be walking along the one string, playing relevant notes. So we'll look at the example I made here. Doesn't have to be like Van Halen craziness in terms of speed, although of course we want to be able to do that, but even nice and slow like that sounds real nice and melodic, especially with that neck pickup. And all I'm doing there is doing the same pattern we learned originally, but changing the tap note, so it goes to a 10, then a 12, then a 13, then a 15, then a 17, all just other notes in the A minor scale. And if you want as well, the last note, you can actually kind of get all the fingers on the same string to manipulate the string and give yourself a bit of vibrato. So the next example is just something I call running down the scale. We'll take our good old A minor pentatonic. But what I'm going to show you is we're going to descend down the fretboard, down these strings from skinny string to thickest string, going through our good old familiar pattern, but the note you're going to be tapping onto is another note in the scale. So it kind of turns this 2-string pattern that we know into a 3-string pattern by tapping on somewhere else on the same string. So this is what it sounds like. those things. It's really hard to play that slow after learning it at a fast speed. So you may find this easier to play at faster speeds. So I'm going to keep the distortion off a wee sec just while I explain. You do the same original lick we learned. Now all we're doing is just moving to the next string. That's the B string, so you're playing 5 and 8 over here again. You're still just tapping onto the 10 because it's another note in that relevant scale. Then move down to the G string. You'll have 5 and 7 over here. The relevant note we want now is this E note on fret 9 of the G string. Okay. Then bump it down to the 4th string, 5 and 7 over here. The tap note will be 10. Then it's also the same on the A string. And then we get to the low E, which is the same as the high E. 5 and 8 over here, and the tap note is 10. So you may notice all the tap notes in there are always going to be 10, except on the G string it'll be a 9. Okay, so I'm just going to play through it a bit here. There we go, that's a lot of fun once you get it up to speed. Just be patient with this. You know, some things on guitar take years, and if that's the case, you know, you've just got to accept that. You've got to start somewhere and start at it, but it may take you a while to get that sounding good. But you can do it. Now also something you can do is just go up the scale, which I always find much harder personally. You just take the same pattern, but you're going to go this way now. Okay, then something that I enjoy personally a lot, tapping out arpeggios. So there's a backing track that I've put up on the channel that I'm kind of using as an example to play over here. So the chords in it are just an A5, a C5, a D5 and a G5. Now in this case they are coming from the key of A minor. I'll just briefly go through the chords and that. I'll just keep the tone nice and quiet. So we've got an A minor, B diminished, C, D minor, E minor, F, G, and then back to A minor. Those are the 7 chords in the key of A minor. And all I've done is take 4 of them and turn them into 5 chords or power chords. Now they'll be playing in the background. What we can learn to do is tap out the chords in the key as arpeggios with finger tapping. So let's look at how that works. So the first chord in the key is A minor, and the notes in that are A, C and E, and the E is the note we're going to be tapping on. So if we just tap out the same like original lick we did, instead of using 10 we're going to use 12. That is the 3 notes in an A minor chord, and that would sound great over an A minor in the background. So that's us tapping out an A minor chord. The next one in the key is B diminished, so we need B, D, and then we're going to tap on to an F, and that'll make up a B diminished. Then we've got a C major, so we need C, E, and we're going to tap on to G. So the next chord in the key would be D minor. So we're going to need 10, that's D, 13, that's F. So that little interval. Then the note you're going to tap onto is A up there in 17. E minor, so we need E, G and we're going to tap on up there to B on fret 19. Then we've got a couple of major chords, F major, so F, A, and we're going to tap on to C. G major, so G, B, and D. I do apologise if you don't have a fret 22 on your guitar, okay? Just go as far as you can, and the other stuff you can't do. You could find it in a lower octave, so you could do fret 3, 7, and then you would tap on to the D note at fret 10. And then there's one more, A minor, we're going to do. You could do the original one, or if you have 24 frets, you could just about squeeze it in up here. So what you can do is get something playing in the background for you, and then try and tap out these arpeggios over the backing track. I'm going to try that now, and it sounds really cool. So I'll give you just a few more ideas before I leave you here. So what you can do when you're doing these taps is, you'll notice on my tab it's just dealing with like the number 4 a lot. You're repeating the pattern 4 times, but think about different groups of numbers like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So if I take the original tapping like we started with, what about instead of me tapping on 4 times, I do it 5 times. Groups of 5, and then I can adjust the note I'm tapping on each time in groups of 5. And then like throw it into a more kind of natural feeling time there. Okay, what about groups of 6 or 7, so I'll do 6 this time. Seven. Yeah, just to give you some different ideas of how to use this. And then the next one would be, I'm just kind of going up the scale in a linear kind of safe way, but you can skip between the notes in the scale, dancing all over the string with your tapping finger. Which is pretty fun to do, and it sounds really flashy, but it isn't that hard to do once you get your fundamental technique down and know where the other notes in the scale and key are that you can tap onto. And the last like concept I'll just give you is randomness. So that was kind of random there, and What you can try as well for fun is you can also look for the notes not in the key. Those weirdo notes, some blues notes, some other strange notes. See if you can locate some other things in there that you might like the sound of. You know, just kind of go crazy and have fun with it a little bit. It's a very expressive way to play. You know, it's a lot of fun once you get that down. It's hard to control all the messiness sometimes, but big deal if it's not always totally clean. You know, you've got to start somewhere. So I hope you enjoyed that. Like the video and subscribe and all that if you did, and check out the backing track on my channel. Just get it in the background as you're practicing this stuff, and you can start playing all this stuff over the top of it.